Well, our Vols went down to Atlanta Labor Day night, Monday night, and what a game it was. I'm sure there was many people that stayed up till midnight watching that game, probably a few that went to bed. There wasn't much hope, it did not seem like, down 14 points and unable to stop the Yellow Jackets. But somehow, with the resolve, the Vols were able to find a way, eke out a 1-point victory, and come home from Atlanta 1-0 on the season. Welcome to Talkin VAWLS, Episode 2 for the 2017 season. I'm Vols JP.
And I'm the Trainwreck of 76.
Rocky, before we get started on this, buddy, we got something more important to talk about. I know most of the listeners that listen into us each and every week on Talkin VAWLS throughout the season knows that Boogie Bentley runs this show. He's the heart and soul of this. He's the one that does all the editing, gets everything prepared for us, and as you can tell, he's not with us. He's dealing with some family health issues right now. I just want to give a big shout out to Boogie and his family. I love you. I love your family. Praying for you, and I'm certainly here for you, Boogie.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough situation they're going through right now. We miss him. Obviously, understandable under the circumstances, but like JP said, Boogie, we love you. We're praying for you, and we'll the family. We're all praying for you. So you're definitely in our thoughts every day.
Oh yeah, that's no doubt at all, and we know whenever the time's right that Boogie will be back on board with us. But until then, we will certainly try to keep all of our Talking Ball fans up to date and talk about all of that. But well, Trainwreck of 76, give me your first initial thoughts of the Georgia Tech Tennessee game on Monday night.
Oh man, where to start? I don't think. Man, we got dominated for what, at least 3/4 of the game,
At least, yeah.
and it just, I don't think I ever felt good about it until it ended. I mean, we hadn't stopped the option all night. When Georgia Tech lined up for two, I was just sitting there waiting on it. I was like, what is my reaction going to be here? Luckily and surprisingly, it was one of jumping up and pumping my fists there, but man, it's how they pulled that one out. I still do not know.
Yeah, that's my thoughts too. I mean, watching that game, I mean, I was subdued. I got a little aggravated there, especially in the second quarter, and because I felt like that, Tennessee wasted some opportunities, especially early. First quarter we had great field position on several of the opening drives, and of course, I definitely think that it showed that Dormady had some jitters there, especially in the first quarter. Thought the offensive line at first was kind of getting knocked around as well, but they were able to settle in and everything like that. But yeah, when that game ended, I was standing probably 3 inches from the TV, my arms out in a spread motion because I mean there was so much excitement. They were showing all the players running around, and because it's happened so many times, and I watch so much college football, and they replay everything, to go back and review all of those plays. And I was like, this is too close to call to be out here celebrating this, knowing that there's a great opportunity that because at that point in time we hadn't really seen the replays. We didn't know that it actually did touch the ground, the pass he threw, and we didn't know even if it had been a completion at that point in time, he was short of the goal line. But I mean, I stood there for a good 30 seconds, and then finally you start seeing them. They're out there, and you see the interviews going on with the media and stuff. And I'm finally like, all right, this is over with. And I'm sitting there thinking, how in the world? How in the world did Tennessee win that football game? I mean, you look at the stats. if you just looked at the stats on that game, you would think that Tennessee would have probably got beat by 28 points or more.
Yeah, it was. I'm kind of the same when Taylor stuffed the quarterback, and then I seen the ball fly. I was like, hang on a minute now. First of all, I thought it was a forward pass at that point, so I don't
Yeah.
know if he would have been behind the line. I didn't. Like you said, you just don't know college football if it'll get overturned or not. But it seemed, like you, I didn't. I thought maybe the guy that called it would have got in, but when they showed the replay on it, he was definitely short, even if that would have been allowed.
Yeah.
But how in the world? I mean, going in the fourth quarter down 14, I was like, I was just kind of sitting there watching it. I mean, I was like, well, I'll stay up. You never know. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever turned the game off early for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, and it was just, get within a touchdown, and I had actually got up to go brush my teeth when Georgia Tech was driving, because I was like, well, here we go again, and I come back and UT has the ball
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there, and just a big play by Galden, and UT's offense took over towards a little bit into the fourth quarter. Once they got their shot, they took over from the fourth quarter till the end of the game.
Yeah, and we hear people talk about, well, Tennessee was lucky to win that game. Well, really, when you think about it, Tennessee made the plays. They were the ones that was able to force two fumbles, which ended up being huge because that created 14 points that Tennessee scored off of both of those turnovers. So. Tennessee always talks about, the Neyland game maxims, and that's always protecting the football. That's one thing, a positive that certainly that Tennessee can look at moving forward with this was certainly the inexperience that they had at quarterback, and you could really say at running back and the wide receiver position to go into that game and not have any turnovers. I thought spoke volumes.
Well, that, and you think about it, you mentioned that, no turnovers. Got lucky on a few when Dormady threw in
Sure did.
about 4 and 5 coverage, but hey, that's the break sometimes. But you mentioned inexperience at receiver. I mean, who would have thought when Jennings went out that who knew who would step up to that
Mm-hmm.
point? And boy, Callaway stepped up in a big way at that
Huge.
point. And when they started feeding Kelly, he took over too.
Yeah, that was key. I guess I guess let's just talk about some positives on offense and defense, and then we'll also hit on obviously a few things that we feel like that Tennessee is going to have to improve on as the year goes forward. I think when I think of offense, who shined on offense, like you said, I think Marquez Callaway. I mean, he stepped up. He only caught four balls, but two of those were touchdowns. So I mean, he came through with some great catches, though. I mean, that one on that game tying drive, that really it just looked like Dormady just threw it up, and he went into coverage there and brought that ball down. I think it was like a 40-yard gain, and then he caught that one touchdown pass, that little swing pass, made a great move and just outrun them to the goal line. So I thought certainly Marquez Callaway was somebody on offense that shined, and you can't talk about Tennessee's offense without talking about Kelly. I mean, John Kelly was an absolute beast. He scores four touchdowns, runs for I think 120 some yards, and you could tell that he wanted the football there in the fourth quarter and overtime. I think in some interviews, he even kind of alluded to that he was telling the coaches staff, feed me, feed me, feed me. So certainly him. And even though the offensive line was a little shaky there, especially in the first quarter, those first few drives and stuff, I really thought that they ended up settling down. Obviously, not only in the run blocking because Tennessee was able to run the ball well, but even in pass protection as well. I mean, they didn't even give up a sack. There was a couple of times close there, especially in the first half that they were close to sacking Dormady, but he was able to get the ball out quick. What about you, Trainwreck? What kind of offensive stars did you see?
I saw, of course, Callaway, huge. I mean, he, like you said, only 4 catches, but man, every one of them was big. You had the first touchdown that he had. You had this, I guess his first 2 catches were touchdowns. I'm thinking, I may be wrong on that. Of
Hmm.
course, he made the great move. The one on the game time drive there, that was huge. He just went up and got that one. And there was another one. It was kind of a strange looking play, but it got a first down where Dormady kind of lobbed it up.
Yep.
Maybe it went, I can't remember, maybe 10 yards or something, but it got a first down. So he was big. Kelly, I mean, like I said, he was a beast, man. He took over there in the fourth quarter. He wanted it. And then after probably the first few possessions, I thought the line settled down, did a pretty good job. I mean, Dormady had time for the most part. Sometimes some of the throws weren't there or whatever, but I thought overall the line did a pretty decent job there. So I think there's a lot to build on with it. I thought Scott caught a pretty good game. I thought they were a little pass heavy early
Hmm.
on. I thought Kelly should have got the ball more,
I agree with that.
but you notice when they started going to him, that opened it up, and Dormady settled in too. I mean, he didn't have too good of a first half, but his receivers and tight end did nothing to help him out either right there. Of course, I'm getting away from the positives, but um, but still, I mean, overall, I think there's a lot to build on right there. It's just what's going to happen going forward without Jennings. Somebody else is going to have to step up besides Callaway now.
Yeah, and thinking on that, we've got Palmer, Jordan Palmer. Is that not his name? I think he's that true.
Josh Palmer.
Josh,
Yep.
true freshman. You got Latrell Williams. Of course, we're hoping to get Josh Smith back. I wouldn't imagine that he'll play Saturday against Indiana State, just because surely the goodness that we can beat them without having to play Josh Smith. But you've got him, Brandon Johnson. They've been talking about a lot about him, and he may have even got the first snaps. I'm not for sure. I'd have to go back and look at it if he actually started over Callaway, but obviously Callaway was the one that was ended up being the star of the game. Um, let's move her over to defense. Um, it might seem like that they would be hard to find positives out of that 660 some yards total offense that they gave up, 535 yards rushing. I can't believe that I'm even saying that.
No.
Oh man. But I did see some positives. I think Daniel Batuli, he didn't learn that he was even going to start until Friday after Austin Smith went down in practice. But especially first quarter, first half, Batuli was all over the place. I mean, he caused that fumble that led to Tennessee's first touchdown there in the second quarter. Ended up with 23 tackles. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
unreal. I mean, I know that Georgia Tech ran a lot of plays, and the majority of those were pass plays. But I mean, 23 tackles. I'm sure that he was sore the next day for sure. And another one, obviously, that on defense that I think stood out was certainly Daryl Taylor. He seemed to be the only defensive lineman that really got any penetration in the backfield the whole night. I mean, um, he was able to at least get some penetration, make some tackles, those type of things like that, and then certainly there at the end of the ball game makes it just an awesome play. I know that Georgia Tech's head coach Paul Johnson said that they screwed up on that play and they should have walked in the end zone, and he says that pulling lineman whiffed. But I've watched that replay, and I think Darrell Taylor just done a tremendous job.
Yeah, I think he just blew that one up. So what happened right there? Because it looked to me like a guy went to block him and he just got through him right there. But yeah, Taylor played a good game. He was really the only defensive lineman you heard anything about the whole game. I mean, the tackles were, it seemed non-existent. But Batuli, heck of a game. I thought Jumper did a pretty good job. There was some times I thought he got taken out a few times too many, but you're dealing with that cheap-ass cut blocking there as well, so you don't know with that. Linebackers, I mean, Batuli especially, I mean, heck, they probably don't win that game without him. I mean, he made the big 23 tackles. He had the fumble recovery. If I'm not mistaken, there at the end when that Georgia Tech guy broke loose, he's the one that come in there and drilled the quarterback and caused that throw to be off. So
Yes.
without him, they don't win the game right there. And I thought Golden played. He made a big play there at the end. Didn't give up on it. So it wasn't the defense's best night, but there were some positives on it. I mean, I don't see how going forward you don't play Batuli because you're going to be right back to a normal nickel defense. That guy's got to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Bob Shoop raves and raves and raves about Jumper, and I certainly respect what Colton Jumper does, and I'm not going to badmouth the kid. Walk on, all of that stuff and everything. I think it's great. I think that's over the years Tennessee's had some excellent players like that, but at the end of the day, you got to get your best athletes and your best players out there. And I think that Batuli, hopefully, you would think that he earned the players or the coaches' trust there Monday night because he was just an animal, especially there in the first half. And what did Georgia Tech run? I don't even 98 offensive plays I think that they ran or something like that.
Yeah, it's
So
ridiculous.
they were absolutely gassed at halftime, and then they just come in on the third quarter and take the opening kickoff and just march right back down the field. What take 5 or 6 minutes off the clock, and go up 21-7. And you could just tell that our defense was just totally gassed. And looking ahead, that's some things that I think that Butch Jones and that coaching staff, and they've talked about it, all summer long, that they were going to have to rotate more of their players in. But then Monday night, Kongbo, McKenzie, those guys were playing 80 plus plays. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know that we don't have a lot of depth at defensive end, and I know that Shy Tuttle didn't play, but where is Alexis Johnson at? He didn't even play, if I'm not mistaken, until Vickers went down.
Yeah, I can't say that I know. I mean, it was mainly McKenzie, Vickers, Kongbo, and Taylor. I seen Phillips in a little bit right there, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
mean Johnson. I seen him in late some. I don't know if Pacquiao played. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if that's. I can't remember if he
Piku or
played.
whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He
Yeah,
might have
yeah,
played some, but
he did
and I don't
some.
think Butler. I don't know that Butler got in any. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, like you said, it was. They talked about wanting to play a lot, and I don't blame him for not playing Tuttle. That was just
Oh
not the
no.
right game to play him. But yeah, I mean they're gonna have to get some more guys in there because that was way too many snaps. And those thing about it, it's not like those guys were really disrupting anything either. So I don't see what it would have hurt to have tried the other guys. But that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. And moving forward, what kind of takeaways can we take from this game? In my opinion, Tennessee certainly, unless it happens to be in some kind of bowl game, we're not going to see the offense that Georgia Tech ran. So, I'm not going to, jump to conclusions and say that this defense is going to be horrible again, like it was, especially the latter part of 2016, because it is such a um, different offense that you have to prepare for, and those type of things like that. But I'm not going to say that I'm not concerned about it, because knowing how this defense got gashed, especially last year late in the season against Kentucky and Vanderbilt, Missouri. I mean, all three of those games, Tennessee gave up over 400 yards rushing, and then Monday night against Georgia Tech, they give up 535 yards rushing. So um, it's certainly a very, very legitimate concern. Um, but I'm going to hold judgment until we play a more uh, typical offense.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I had a buddy of mine immediately said the morning, he said 6-6 at best, and I said, well, you can't really go on that game right there. I mean, we got out of there with the win, and that's, I said before, I said a 1 point win, and I'll be happy with it, and especially the way that game went. But yeah, I don't think we'll be able to get a good judgment of things until we at least play Florida.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Florida's offense is going to be. I'm sure they'll magically get all their players back when they play Tennessee. So we'll probably get a little bit of an idea there. More of an idea, I think, when we play Georgia. I think Georgia's going to have a pretty stout offense to deal with. But I mean, who knows? I mean, the secondary, it's hard to tell much on them, even though they didn't look great in coverage. Mosley did make a huge play
Mm-hmm.
that one time. That was big right there, but I don't know.
Justin Martin,
There's
man.
yeah, he didn't have too good of a game other night. Maybe hopefully, it was one game. He'll improve going forward on it, but it's really hard for me to say because, like you said, we're not going to see an offense like that. Thank goodness,
Yeah,
unless it's in a bowl game, and hopefully we won't see it in a bowl game either.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would say that. Uh, I don't know. We'll see going forward. I'm not ready to jump off a bridge, but I didn't expect to give up 600 yards either. That kind of. I thought maybe they would give up. I thought over 300 was realistic that they would give up rushing, but man, I didn't expect them to almost double that like it did though. That was kind of surprising, and the line kind of. That would be my concern going forward. Now maybe that'll change against a more traditional offense right there.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of chatter, and I even noticed it Monday night watching the game, and I know we had some text going back and forth and stuff, but how far off the ball that Tennessee's defensive linemen were lining up, and I think that they asked Jones about that alignment, and they were basically saying that they had planned on doing that to try to keep from Georgia Tech, getting those cut blocks and those type of things like that. But I mean, there was times that McKenzie, I felt like that he was 3 yards off the ball,
Yeah, I mean, I,
and
I don't know how. It seems to me like it'd be easier to cut block like that than it would if you're right up on them. But I mean, I don't know the whole cut block thing real well. But that was that was kind of odd because anybody at stop Tech is blowing them up at the line instead of letting them get off like that. So
yeah, yeah, I
I
know
don't
it.
know about that one.
Yeah, I don't either. That's what I felt like going into the game. I thought that our defensive tackles would have to get some penetration in the backfield, but and we we were stopping them at first, but it was like that Georgia Tech was trying more outside runs, and then when they saw that they were having more difficult with that. I mean, once they started running right up the gut, and that's where Tennessee struggled last year, late in the season, is just right up the gut. I mean, they just started gashing us then, and then we didn't have no answer for that quarterback.
No, he was. You got to give him credit.
Oh yeah,
He wore him out, man. I mean, like you said, that's exactly it. I mean, they was wearing him out up the middle with Benson. It wasn't him. It was the quarterback, maybe cutting back or something like that. But
yeah.
that's definitely a concern. And maybe when Tuttle gets back, I don't expect to see him this week either. But maybe that'll help things a little bit when he gets back, because we definitely need him. That's for sure.
For sure, yeah, yeah. I differ on that a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised, depending on how he does in practice this week, if we don't see him out there for maybe 5 or 6 snaps
Yeah, that's
this
true.
week.
They may get him get the rust off a little bit,
Rest off of him, yeah,
possibly. That's
yeah,
true.
yeah, possibly. Now, I mean, I wouldn't fault him for not playing him because, I think, certainly that he's probably done enough in practice that he could be ready to go, against Florida in 2 weeks down, or a week and a half really now. But I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play some against Indiana State. Looking at the offense going forward, I mean, that was such a weird game where Georgia Tech controlled the clock. I mean, Tennessee ended up 18 minutes, less than 19 minutes of time of possession. I mean, that is just absolutely crazy to think about. And watching the game, and I've watched a little bit of it back again, Tennessee on offense just was never really to able to get into a rhythm until it seemed like they're in the fourth quarter. It seemed like the whole first half, the first quarter, like we talked about, Dormady was off a little bit. The wide receivers that they were dropping passes. The second quarter was really when Georgia Tech took over, and they controlled almost the entire clock there in the second quarter. So we just really didn't have much time, and I didn't think Tennessee was able to really ever get into a rhythm. And so, I don't know how much that I can take away from the offense either, because of the way that Georgia Tech controlled the time of possession and just how little much time that Tennessee was actually on the field.
Yeah, it was kind of. I guess my thing of it was, it seemed like like you said, Georgia Tech controlled the clock, but it seemed like Tennessee was trying to get back down quick because they. I mean, how many possessions did we go where Kelly didn't even touch it?
Yeah, I know.
And that was time we needed to get the defense a rest, I thought. And I know the line started out slow, but they come along after that, and I don't know. It's like I said, what it was a strange. That's probably one of the more strange Tennessee games I've seen, and that's saying something right there based on some of the Tennessee games. But just weird how Georgia Tech controlled it, and then I don't know. I don't know if times their offense set too long or whatever, but I mean it's hard to take much out of that game. I think, other than the fact that at the end when it counted, that offense took over when they
Yeah.
got the chance, and we'll see what they do going forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one thing that I do think that Tennessee can take positives out of is, I know that Georgia Tech, obviously, they're not a top level defense probably. Going into the game, we thought like that their defensive line probably wasn't that good. But really, their back seven, I mean, they had a lot of experience in the secondary. They had some experience at linebacker, and I felt like, even though that Tennessee struggled the majority of the game, somehow we still found a way to score 42 points. We still found a way to win the football game, and for it to be Dormady's first career start, I felt like that it was probably better than going against some FCS opponent or something like that where they just totally just outman them. I mean, I think that Georgia Tech secondary is probably pretty decent. So that's a positive that I can take from it.
Yeah, I don't think that was that bad of a defense. I don't think it'll be, it's obviously not going to be Alabama level, probably not Florida level or Georgia, anything like that. But like I said, they've got some experience. So it was, there's definitely positives to take from that game. I mean, there's negatives, but there's positives because Dormady settled in and looked pretty good in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, he managed the game well. There wasn't any penalties or not any penalties on him, or wasn't any delay of games. No timeouts were having to be called for how he managed it or anything like that. So he seemed a little rattled early, but he settled in and had a good second half. I mean, he rebounded and looked pretty well right there. So I think he'll be all right going forward right there, I really do. And it just depends, the receivers and Wolf are going to have to help him out. That's just all it is to it. We got to make him play.
Yeah, I mean they have got to find somebody that can catch the ball on a consistent level. I mean, we can't continue to have these drops, and I mean, it was a theme that happened to Tennessee way too much last year is these slow starts, and it was the same thing Monday night as well with that. So um, looking ahead to Indiana State, I'll admit I have done very little research on Indiana State. They're a FCS team. I don't think they were very good last year. I think they won maybe 2 or 3 ball games last year. They lost their first game this year by 3 points, I think it was, on Saturday. What I'm looking for on Saturday is I'm looking for Tennessee to start fast. I'm looking for them to have this game well in hand by halftime. And I'm looking for some of those young players that we are going to have to count on this year. I'm talking about the linebackers. I'm talking about some cornerbacks. I'm talking about these wide receivers. That's what I'm looking for on Saturday is getting those kids playing time, real live game action, because we're going to have to count on them as this season goes on.
Yeah, it's got to be. I don't want to hear the excuse of, well, they're holding the playbook back. My flock,
No.
go out and drill them, get it over with early, and like you said, get the young guys in. Because, I mean, even getting Guarantano in there, I know that, I'm sure we'll touch upon it later on. He wasn't too happy the other night about playing, but hey, I've been there. It's just the way it is. I don't take much from it, honestly, but um, get him some action. Got to get the young running backs in because Kelly's going to need some help at some point back there, and we didn't see enough of that the other night, which that was the situation was in. But we're going to need some of the young receivers. I wouldn't mind to see Bumpus at tight end get some reps in there. Young defensive linemen, linebackers, secondary. Yeah, this is a game. Get it over with early and get these young guys some playing time. Get them some experience. Because they're going to be needed. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean there is no doubt about it, and I know that Garantano that he didn't get in, and maybe this is the time to talk about that. Personally, I don't think unless Herb Street brings it up, I don't think anybody even really says anything about it. But they went on with it, pretty much the last half of the second quarter and all through halftime, and in the third quarter before Tennessee started making it a game. But who knows why that he didn't get in? I mean, do I feel like that he was promised that he was going to play Monday night? Yes, I do. I certainly feel like that they prepared him and told him that he was going to get a chance to lead that offense. I don't know why Butch Jones didn't put him in, but I'm glad. I mean, Tennessee won that football game. I mean, who knows about if if he had pulled him there in the second quarter, who knows what that might have done to Dormady Syke, and who knows if he'd been able to come back in the second half and help Tennessee win that football game.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and we said it on the text. I think we's all in agreement that maybe it was time to go to him, give him a shot,
Yeah,
because nothing was going on. But maybe it did work out because like we said, Dormady he got on a roll in the second half, and who knows if that happens if they make the switch. Um, like you said, Herb Street went on about it, but Georgia Tech had the ball for so long, man. Who knows? We didn't see him the whole time he was over there. Some of the times they put it on him, he just sitting there kind of watching the game or whatever, but we don't know if it was like that the whole time just due to how long they had the freaking ball.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but, I'm kind of like you. I wonder if he thought he was going to get in, wasn't too happy about it. That's, people make a big deal out of it if they want to. We'll see going forward. I just afraid it'll start the rumor mill of any time he doesn't play that he's gonna be transferring anytime,
transferring.
and
Oh yeah,
we don't need that, and we definitely don't want to see it happen. But uh, I don't know. I chalk it up to being a competitor wanting to play. Um, I'd probably feel the same way if I was promised to play and I wasn't. I don't. I'd probably be involved over there, and who's to say he wasn't? But I think it got overblown, like you said, just
yeah,
'cause Herb Street kept bringing it up.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, we got to think. I mean, he's 19 years old. I mean, he is a kid. I mean, he is a kid. I mean, he wasn't over there on the sidelines throwing things and bad mouthing the coaches or arguing with other players and stuff like that. You know, do I wish that he might have been a little bit more energetic and supportive and those type of things? I mean, yeah. I mean, I would have liked to seen that more out of him, but you know, if Herb Street wouldn't have brought it up and they didn't keep on panning over there, looking at it, we would have never known, and those fans would have never known either that was there at the game. So and I saw him tweet out a real positive comment yesterday. Pretty much saying that he is supporting the team and that they got the win, and that's all that basically matters. So hopefully it's something that he can learn from, and I'm excited to see him play. I hope he gets a lot of playing time Saturday. I hope he gets a ton of playing time. I mean, I hope that he goes out there and they get Dormady some more experience, and but I hope that we see number two out there quite a bit on Saturday, getting some experience as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
That so well. Anything else that you want to talk about the Georgia Tech game, Rocky?
I think
Anything
we,
else you can think of?
I think we've pretty much hit it all at this point. To be honest with you, I mean it. Just like with Appy State last year, it wasn't pretty, but it's 1-0, and that's all it's going to count. Everybody can raise Cain, you know, fire Butch, yada yada yada. We're going to see it every week. It doesn't matter. There's people that's not happy no matter what. I get sick of reading it and stuff. I get sick of this media throwing off on Butch over every little thing. They're throwing off over the trash can thing. Who cares, man? If the players
Yeah,
like it, then so be it. If they're happy with it, I'm happy with it. So I mean,
yeah,
why crack on something they've come up with? I don't know. I get sick of Tennessee fans a lot. I'll be honest with you. It's just, and I understand people getting upset. Everybody's passionate, but man, there's some that just takes it to a whole new level of just
Oh,
ridiculousness.
yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's everything that they do. I mean, if they were at the level that Alabama is right now, you would have people that constantly complain about everything. I mean, they constantly complain. I mean, it's just like, really? Is that the? I mean, can't you just enjoy that win? Yes. I'm not going to sit here and say that Tennessee played perfect. I'm not sitting here and saying that Tennessee is a playoff team, anything like that at all. And I mean, you can sit there, you can look at the stats, you can shake your head, you can say, my goodness, this defense was horrible. You can say all of that. But isn't the name of the game to win? Isn't the name of the game to score more points than your opponent? And Monday night, somehow, some way, the Big Orange was able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the name of it. We I think we had a good idea. We might have been a little orange tinted in our predictions or whatever, but I don't think any of us was surprised it was ugly either.
No,
Maybe not that ugly, but I think a lot of people, and I think we all did too, knew it was we was probably gonna have to gut one out, and they certainly did.
yeah, yeah. Well, and going back to Georgia Tech, I mean, you look at them last year. I mean, they finished 9-4. They beat three SEC East teams: Georgia, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Vandy by 31 points.
Hmm.
Beat them 38-7. They beat Georgia by 1 point, and they beat Kentucky in their bowl game, I think, by 15 points. So, you know, yeah, we shouldn't be comparing Tennessee to Kentucky and Vanderbilt. I understand that. I'll never say that we should compare Tennessee. But what I'm saying is that Georgia Tech beat some SEC East opponents.
Hmm.
They beat teams that we play on a yearly basis. A team that Georgia that traditionally that we're going to contend for the SEC East with, they beat Georgia. Tennessee beat Georgia Tech. So, I mean, I think all of that's positives. I mean, like I said, it wasn't pretty. We didn't think that there was much hope, but finally, when the game was over with, Tennessee scored more points than Georgia Tech did.
Yep, found a way to win. That's all that
Yep.
matters.
Well, I mean that's all that matters, and I mean you can down Butch Jones, you can down Shoop, all of that kind of stuff, but this team, they don't give up. They didn't give up last year. I mean, we saw them fought back so many times from 21 points down or 14 points down. I mean, it was a running joke last year, and certainly this year. I mean, I thought that was some impressive things from Monday night is being down by 14 points. Georgia Tech just basically just controlling the game. Brand new quarterback, first career start. You lose your best wide receiver. You got inexperienced wide receivers out there, and Tennessee finds the way to score and tie the game up, and then send it to overtime, and they win. So, I'm happy. I'm happy.
I am too. You
Let's move on to let's move on to week number 2. Let's get into prediction time. I know that we haven't talked much about Indiana State. Is there anything that you've researched on Indiana State Trainwreck?
Nope, nothing. I don't know anything about them. I'll be perfectly honest about it. I think it's got to be. There's no need to fiddle around with them. Come out and put
I
them out of
agree.
their misery early, and let's
Yeah.
get the young guys in, like we said.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's so important, and I talked about it. I mentioned it in our season preview on here on Talkin Balls. How this game in the past is one of these games that Tennessee should put the opponent away quick, and that's one thing with Butch Jones that we've seen, that they've struggled with these teams that that they shouldn't struggle with for too long, and they have to play their starters. I mean, look like last year we got Sutton and Reeves Maven both hurt in the Ohio game, which I know it was early on, but still, that's the reason why that you want to put this game away quickly, because you want those guys to rest up, not be out there and risk being injured, knowing that in 7 days that you got to go to the swamp, and that's when, really, when you look at it, that's when the season starts.
Yep, sure does. No doubt about it. You got anything
So
in the recruiting this week?
I'll be honest with you, I did not. I glanced at it quickly. I can hit on a couple of guys, but I don't have a whole lot of stats. But I think, certainly Monday night that we saw the struggles with the defensive line. Uh, we've got, I know that we'd already talked about Greg Emerson, the big defensive end from West Tennessee, but we got two really good prospects committed from Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro and Nashville. Brant Lawless and help me on that one, Brent. It's Brant Lawless. Do you remember?
Is it
I can't
Dion?
even
It's
remember. Lideker kid. Yep. Uh, Both of those kids are 4 stars. They look pretty darn good, so I'm excited about them. Hopefully that we can get them in there, and Rock can get a start with them on the conditioning, because typically a high school defensive lineman or a lineman in general may have some fat on them, excess fat, those type of things like that. But I'm certainly excited about getting those two kids in the conditioning program at Tennessee, because I think that we're going to have to count on them. And I'm a huge believer that football games are won at the line of scrimmage, and if you don't have elite offensive linemen and elite defensive linemen, it makes it a whole lot difficult to win.
Yeah, no doubt. They've got a pretty good defensive line class. Hopefully, they can close it out with some ends. But I don't. Did you see a final recap of guys that visited down there Monday night? I know it was a pretty impressive looking list. It was supposed to be down there to watch them play.
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot about it. I know that there was quite a few commits that did show up to the game. I don't have a list of names or anything like that. But yeah, there were several commits that showed up, and then also several that's not committed that Tennessee's after, and I think even some 2019 kids uh, were there, which that was one of the selling points that Jones and them are saying about playing these neutral site games, is the ability for them to, even though that they can't interact and talk to these kids, they can still have them come to the game and visit and actually witness a game live in person.
Yeah, I know they had three of their big defensive end targets were in down there, which was big. I think
Okay.
all of them are from Georgia. Well, two of them, and Adam Anderson, I know he's listed as the number one linebacker, at least on 24/7.
Yeah.
He was in down there. Like you said, they had some bunch of commitments. Some 2019 kids made the trip down. I mean, that is right. I mean, I would have preferred that game been against another ACC team, preferably, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but still, yeah, that is a big selling point, those neutral site games. I mean, last year at Bristol, they had some guys up there as well, and I would
Certainly.
imagine next year when they start out in Charlotte, it would be the same way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure that it will be, but I know one thing. I don't want to see no triple option anytime soon. I know that for sure.
There's a guy I know made the comment the other night, said the last time, and it was Air Force, the game
Mm-hmm.
ended the exact same way with them going
It
for
did.
two and shutting them down. And
Yep.
I didn't think about that until after he said it. But I was like, man, you're right. That was the
Yep.
exact same thing that happened.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
I remember that game. I was in Knoxville for that game, and yes, it was a nail biter, and it was one of them games just like there Monday night where we couldn't stop them if we tried. And luckily Tennessee found a way to win that one too. But well, predictions this Saturday, 4 o'clock, against Indiana State Sycamores, I believe is
yep,
their
I
mascot.
believe it is.
Most famous alumnus, I guess, is Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
Lakers, by the way. So,
yeah.
but I'm going. Man, this is one of those. Probably it's probably not even a line on this one, but I'm going to say. Oh man, I'll say I would be tempted to go 60. That's probably been a little. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say 66 to 14.
66-14.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that for
Yeah,
sure.
that's probably
I'm gonna
being
be
generous, but hey, what? Who knows?
yeah. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative. I don't think Tennessee will put 66 on the board. I hope that I'm wrong. I'm going to go 49-17. I think that Tennessee will play a lot of inexperienced players. So I think that the Sycamores will score 3 times. But I think Tennessee will should be well in hand. I could see it being 42-0 at halftime, maybe 42-7 potentially, something like that, 42-3, and then I think Tennessee kind of calls it off in the second half. Not to say that they won't, uh, run their offense and stuff. I just don't think that they'll have the killer instinct to to score all of those points. But certainly, it should be a game Saturday that Tennessee can get a lot of players in. Let's just hope that they can get some players in, but also avoid any more injuries. I know that we really didn't even talk about Jawan Jennings a whole lot, but you know this team is just snake bit. I mean, it is after all the injuries that we went through last year with key players, and then this year before the season starts, we lose arguably our best defensive player that we could not afford to leave, in Darren Kirkland Jr. And then Monday night, we have essentially lost our most experienced and arguably our most talented offensive player in Jawan Jennings.
Yeah, and that's not even mentioning any of the offensive line stuff that's went on as well. I mean, lost guys there. Richmond will be back this week, so we'll see what that does. But yeah, it's crazy, man. The injuries down there. I'm like you. I want to see them get it over with, get the starters out, and have them ready for Florida as full of a deck as possible. Not adding more injuries to it.
Certainly. I certainly agree with that, and I hope that I'm wrong on my 49-point prediction. I hope that you're right, Rocky. I hope that we score 66 or more. I say lay it on them.
Well, that's probably being a little generous right there. You're probably right about it. They'll be up big and kind of just run it out the second half, but you can always hope. I guess a flashback back to the late '90s when teams like that would get 70 put on them. But
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate everybody listening each week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Talkin VAWLS_pod. Also, you can follow us on YouTube at the S&B. Can't even read that. I had that. Darn. You know what the name of that is?
what is it, S and B? I'm not even sure on it, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. It stands for Snake and Boogie. Anyway, Boogie, I am sorry about that. You can edit this out if you want to, but if you search Talkin VAWLS on YouTube, it will pull up these episodes. Be sure to like and comment anything good, bad on there. Give us predictions. Give us anything that you'd like for us to talk about. Those type of things. Anything else that you want to end this with, Trainwreck?
Nope. Since it's Indiana State, Larry Bird, I respect him as a great player, but as an old Lakers fan, beat the hell out of Indiana State.
Let's go. Well, I'm going to steal this from our good friend Boogie Bentley. Only thing I got to say is go Big Orange.